Hey gamesters! When Rage came out, it was setting a standard of what graphical technology could look like. You know, like Crysis. And that was on the Xbox 360 days. The generation after that wasn't even announced yet. And I want to set the stage of what things were like when this came out. I hope you remember how limited those consoles ended up being. They were a huge leap in technology when they came out, yeah, and then they stayed out for nearly a decade before your Xbox Ones and PS4s came out. And then they still kept making games for it. For years. You've heard of Moore's Law. Transistors doubling every 2 years. It's starting to fail, but damn, it got pretty far, didn't it? So when the 360 got unseated, hardware was 4 times better than it. Quadruple in strength. And the 360 was already starting off on a poor foot. I know I'm ranking on the Xbox, but it came out first. It was gonna come out with 256 megabytes of RAM, and the Gears of War devs had to fight to increase it to 512. It was coming out of the gate with a last-minute addition to try and look modern. What I'm trying to get at is that after a few years of being out, these weren't the systems to be making industry-defining graphical benchmarks on. Crysis came out in 2007, pretty much the start of the 7th generation, but it took 4 additional years of tweaking to get it to even run on consoles in 2011. Rage also came out in 2011. Same day across all platforms too. It had 3 discs to install the game on Xbox. PS3 had 1 because it had a fancy Blu-ray player, ooh. And the end result? It played pretty smooth. Turns out it wasn't just a graphical powerhouse, it was a performance one too. There you go. Rage's selling points, tech-wise, were mega textures, which were big, huge texture files which were super duper compressed and then translated in real time as you play. Was it worth it? I don't know. But anyway, that's just the tech. The story is, shit's fucked, and it's up to you to stop it. Alright, how do I change my FOV? Alright, simple enough. Add these lines into the launch options. Oh. Not enough. Let's try more. You know that rendering cone games use? It gets very noticeable when you up the FOV. There's this weird head swaying too. I hope you don't get motion sick.
Hey you! Over here!
Well, what if I go over here? This is very much a PC port game. The UI is clunky for keyboard and mouse, which is most apparent in things like the shops where you gotta click everything. With weapons you can at least just bind everything, including the quick items. Have a meeting with that there bind menu. Put the quick melee on something more convenient. You can't even unbind keys, you need to bind it with another key and then bind that key back. It even does the thing where your mouse isn't bound to the game, so you'll be scrolling up and down on another monitor too. I really dig the style. The Junker aesthetic is awesome, where things look cobbled together and jury-rigged. A lot of things have a cool, bulky look, with an emphasis on basic shapes and roundness, that also goes well with the style. There was this trailer for a game called Meet Your Maker, that has the same thing going on with the scavenger look, but also this emphasis on bulkiness and basic shapes and roundness. Dragon Ball had it too. I don't know what to call it, but I like it. What is it? Bulk punk? Round decor? Oh, and doohickeys and gizmos and whatchamacallits attached to things and stuff that rattles around. Heavy shadows. Love 'em. Pretty skies, too. Those mega textures make things look real crisp. I would describe it as looking like a halfway point between the generations. 7.5. It's not quite what the next generation was able to put out, but it's many steps above what the current generation was. The music, on the other hand, doesn't stand out. Put on your own stuff. There's no map. That's quite the decision. Maps are always so helpful, but in games, especially open world games, what I end up doing is opening the map every few meters to make sure I'm exploring absolutely everything, or I'm where I'm supposed to be. Without a map, I'm forced to internalize locations and pay attention to and look at the pretty scenery. I think exclusions of maps can lead to more immersion and should be seriously considered when making games. There is a minimap, but it actually goes away when you go into a level. Look at that! That's the devs being very intentional with their game's mechanics, having a clear vision. There's a tight overworld with tighter levels. I think I prefer that over true open world. I can only sort of put my finger on it. I played Rage 2 before, where you could go anywhere, and I often felt directionless, just going to places and doing things cause I could, without purpose. Here it feels like a lot of the fat was cut out. It's more direct. Even if you sat me down and showed me proof that there was less downtime in the second game and more variety in content, I'd still go, but it feels nicer. On the gameplay side, enemies are fun and responsive. They react wherever you hit them. For example, some will have masks or helmets that you can shoot off. When hit, they'll lurch off in a direction which will throw off your aim, but if you're good enough, it's an opportunity to get another free hit in. Their animations are a bit off. They move a little bit faster than you expect, a little janky. The screen blurs when you're hit. I don't like it. It does a good job of making the player go into cover when they're being shot at, but it devolves to taking turns shooting each other. How health works in this game is that there's no numbered health, just regenerating health. Yeah, back in those days. There's a revive mechanic when you take too much damage, where you play a little mini-game and stun surrounding enemies. And there are regenerating charges of that too. I don't know, I would have preferred if my health or damage taken was just upped instead of this system. This came out years before Doom 2016 just had enemies drop instant healing. So it wouldn't be fair to say, oh, they should have just done that, even if it is the same company. It's an experiment, so it was worth trying it out, but the results isn't that fun. Man, it's crazy to think that's what things were like. That devs were experimenting with unique twists on the proven formula of regenerating health. I ended up playing more aggressively and using the stun as an attack of sorts. Maybe that was the intention, encouraging getting in there. But the screen blurring on hit makes me think otherwise, and the interruption of the minigame really breaks the flow. Fall damage is really strong. The levels are competently made and paced. There will often be a gimmick or two to give a level a unifying theme, and they progress and open up rather intuitively. The game's a fan of this trick of spawning an enemy where a door opens up so you're guided in the right direction. Then, when you're all done, you take the Skyrim shortcut back to the entrance. Small nitpick, the Authority machine gun seems to be a direct upgrade to the assault rifle. I'm not quite sure if there's a reason to ever use it again, other than ammo concerns. You get them pretty close together too, so there ends up being a dead button on your number bar. There's cars! There's 4 vehicles in-game, starting with the quad, where every time you crash, your ragdoll goes flying and you do a funny scream. Then 3 cars afterwards. Progression-wise, there's no real reason to use previous vehicles after unlocking the next. There's no player choice of, oh, this one's faster but less sturdy. This one's got more weapons but handles bad. They just seem to be straight upgrades. Otherwise, cars are fun enough. Movement is a little sloppy. It seems pretty sensitive to things when you're not on a flat surface. The slightest bump can send you flying and crashing and make you lose your momentum. Sometimes it takes 15 million trillion years to get back on course, and sometimes you just immediately slip 180 degrees to the other side. The silly physics aren't completely without merit, though. It's very fun to slam into other cars and make them do 1080s. There's a good bit of content and upgrades around your car, but don't feel bad about skipping any. Fuck those rally races. You always have to wait for NPCs to do their roleplay before you can shop or keep going with the quest. Let me play the game! There's a card minigame, but it's iffy. Sometimes cards just deal less damage than they should, I don't know why. There's also very little agency. You kind of just sit there and watch. The economy is implemented pretty well at first. Bullets and supplies were hard to come by, and there were decisions to make about what to spend on. But soon enough you have way too much money. Wonder why that always happens in games. Starts out good, but then you never have to worry about it again. Maybe it's 'cause we do all the side content. The beginning of the game was doing this thing where you could buy upgrades for your weapons, like scopes and magazines, but then around a third of the way through it just stops. Hey, what's going on in there? Everything alright? Nothing, go away. Crafting ammo sorta fills the same role game design-wise, but it was fun adding little improvements to my weapons. There's a crafting system to make all sorts of gadgets like exploding cars, but I never really used them. I never really use items if I have to switch them out. I just keep whatever the most useful item is on the button. I like what Elden Ring did by giving you a menu when you held down the button, and you could use another item. I'm sure it's not the first game that did that, but it's the first I've played. Again, made long after this, so oh well. Oh! I won! Yeah! I guess the game had a deadline, and they had to finish things up quick. Oh well, it happens. Publishers want to make those profit margins. It feels like Rage has some good qualities trying to break through, but the devs just didn't have the time to polish or even finish many aspects of the game. It was like, come on Rage. Over here Rage. Launches in 3 weeks Rage. On the cool scale, it's an eh. Nowadays, graphical fidelity and photorealism is more of a stylistic choice, well, and having the budget to make photorealistic assets. Game developers don't really have to worry about hardware constraints, so long as they're not just, you know, dumping trillions of polygons in a water simulation. And the Switch. It's interesting to go back to a time where professionals had to pull out some really crafty tricks to get a game to just run. It's like an art form in and of itself. It's almost a little sad, isn't it? The end of an era. Maybe bittersweet is the right word. Hardware only being able to do so much was a problem that every single developer had to deal with. A common enemy. All the clever thinking, the revolutionary techniques, the artistry, the triumphs. It's quickly becoming obsolete. The common enemy is dying. Ah well, that's just me being melodramatic. There will always be problems to solve and clever people solving them. It's a new age starting in this little microculture of game technology, just waiting for new names and new ideas. Maybe it's even you who's paving the way. Who knows? The future is for later. The past was our path to get here. All we can do is something right now. Have a good day.